Due Process, recipient of 5 Mid-Atlantic Emmy Awards since 1997.
Never issued a summons, never warning. I had my car searched many, many times.
This man claims to have 100 reasons to know about racial profiling.
I'm not here to defend what's happened. I'm here to try to fix things.
But this man says it is his mission to make sure profiling's a thing of the past. Racial profiling, a reality still on New Jersey roads, on this edition of Due Process.
Major funding for Due Process is made possible by the New Jersey State Bar Foundation, committed to educating the public about the law. Additional funding is provided by Lawyer's Diary and Manual.
New Jersey and racial profiling, are they inextricably linked? Vice President Gore once charged that racial profiling practically began here. And though New Jersey is surely not alone, the systematic targeting of black citizens, especially black drivers, and especially by the state police on the turnpike, is no longer much in dispute. I'm Raymond Brown, and it's more than a year now since state officials conceded there was some truth to the long-time charges. So you'd think by now the racial profiling issue would be off the front pages. But Sandy King is here to say that that's not so.
And Raymond, it is not just that embarrassing 4-year-old photo of the smiling Christy Whitman frisking an unarmed black man while on patrol in Camden with the state police. In fact, the fight now tends to be between those, like the governor, who say profiling was a problem that's now being fixed, and those who insist things are not much better than when Elmo Randolph found his daily commute was not always a nonstop trip. Over 100 times?
Over 100 times, from the late 80s to the early 90s. And always, I was never issued a summons, never warning. I had my car searched many, many times.
And he says it wasn't because of the way he drove, but rather the color of his skin.
It was always in the same stretch of turnpike where the police had to pull off and they would be parked perpendicular to traffic, looking into the car. Soon after, they would observe me, they would pull me over.
And you were driving what?
A BMW at the time.
Race aside, Elmo Randolph was a far cry from the profile of the dangerous drug dealer troopers were supposed to be looking for.
In the middle section, you gotta get to high speed.
In fact, Randolph deals in things like fillings and implants, not drugs.
On a few occasions when I would open the trunk and there would be a dental magazine or something like that in the trunk of the car, they would remark, you are a dentist, as though that was, a lie that I had made up.
Myself, I think I've been stopped probably about 13 times, and my son, who's 23, has been stopped twice as many times.
Harvard professor Cornel West saw plenty of the New Jersey State Police during his years at Princeton.
I got stopped at least 2 or 3 times. They figured I was a drug dealer just because I had a Camaro.
And people argue, well, it's not really racial profiling. Well, what is it when a state trooper pulls up alongside you, looks in the window to see who you are, then slows down, pulls in behind you, and turns the red light up?
Ask people in there of color whether or not you've been stopped by the police engaged in one of these things, and you will find a very small percentage that won't say, yeah, I've had an unhealthy experience.
They are the kinds of stories that have surfaced again and again in the 2+ years since the long-time pattern of racial profiling finally made it to the state and national front burner.
It's New Jersey, it's New York, it's Illinois, it's Los Angeles, it's a national epidemic of ugliness.
So I would not in any way demonize New Jersey. I would just be honest about the racial profiling that's going on in New Jersey and try to eliminate it.
But it was the troopers' shooting of 3 unarmed black students inside this minivan, a shooting in which 2 troopers now face major criminal charges, that turned New Jersey's dirty little secret into a full-blown national scandal.
As witnessed 2 years ago with the shooting that happened on the New Jersey Turnpike of 4 unarmed students, that it's not a safe place for black people to be.
Well, Dr. Randolph Story in particular struck me when I met him by the sheer injustice of it. This is a man, an educated, erudite, professional man who was routinely stopped, humiliated, and victimized.
Racial profiling is no news to Moorestown attorney Bill Buckman. 10 years ago, he brought suit against the state, alleging that the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment was routinely being violated by black traffic stops on the New Jersey Turnpike.
New Jersey was particularly responsible for honing profiling to a fine art.
But despite a judge's ruling in Buckman's favor, it would be nearly a decade before the state admitted the allegations might be true.
New Jersey has distinguished itself in this particular area in the last year, and that is we are one of the few agencies in the country that has recognized the problem, admitted aspects of the problem.
The admissions came in 2 reports, in a consent decree with federal civil rights officials, in an employment bias settlement with the NAACP, and in rare sessions like this one at Rutgers Law School, when New Jersey's top trooper placed himself squarely on the firing line.
New Jersey, like several other agencies, has similar problems. I'm not here to defend what's happened. I'm here to try to fix things.
And Colonel Carson Dunbar, who was brought on last November to help quell increasing protest, concedes there's still a lot that needs fixing.
Now, as far as the state police and what it's done in the past, unfortunately, I do have to agree with Mr. Buckman. There were a lot of signs, and I think the signs were back. I mean, I can remember them being there in the early 70s, and probably a good manager or good management should have matured the organization, and it's paying the price for that now. But we will move forward.
But Dunbar's taken heat for not moving fast enough or tough enough.
It's important to keep in mind that nobody in the hierarchy has been called to the carpet for these outrages. No one has taken responsibility, and so the problem goes. And so we're still fighting profiling, and then we're still dealing with spin control rather than substance.
But Colonel Dunbar is making no apologies.
These things are not just going to change overnight. It's going to take hard, long work. The Justice Department consent decree is the document basically that talks about 5 years. And my goal is to try to move as fast as you can and bring about change that I believe, or I wouldn't be here, that needs to take place. But it's not going to be an easy task.
But has the task been taken on in a really serious way? Again, that depends on whom you ask. And we will get to ask the man himself. Colonel Carson Dunbar will be here in our studio for his first extended TV interview.
Sandy, it's a Due Process exclusive. Colonel Dunbar, our only guest for this special edition, so stay with us.
You would hope that the people would see that racial profiling is not an issue that's confined solely to black people or young black men, though young black men disproportionately suffer. Racial profiling is the use of arbitrary power by a police department against fellow citizens. And it's a arbitrary power, not only unjustified, but it's excessive in its impact regarding black people's trust in government, black people trust in police.
For 9 months, he's kept his own counsel, appearing at the occasional news conference or community forum, but usually staying out of the public eye and decidedly off camera. So we thank Carson Dunbar, Superintendent of the Embattled State Police, for breaking his pattern to be with us here today. Colonel Dunbar, welcome to Due Process.
Thank you.
A couple of months after your appointment, we appeared at a symposium, and we just showed a clip in which you said your job was to fix the problem of profiling, especially concerning the state police. And the question that occurred to me then, occurred to me when you were appointed, and is still in my mind, is this. There are those folks who say that profiling is a symptom of a much larger question of race in the justice system that we have yet to resolve in this society. That it's a symptom of racial attitudes throughout the society and this state, as well as throughout police culture throughout this country and in this state. I mean, given what can sound like an intractable problem, why would you take the job in which your mandate is to fix it and in which your tenure is going to be judged by whether you're able to stop racial profiling?
Well, I think this was a very difficult task going into it, and I knew that. I also knew that someone had to do it. You made reference to the seminar where we first met. I went into an environment that quite frankly, I believe that there was somewhat of a stacked deck, in the sense that there were a number of people who did not necessarily seek solutions, rather came to condemn. That, as far as I'm concerned, really doesn't resolve anything. It's interesting, you actually encapsulated the real problem. And the real problem is it does go beyond the state police. And it does involve race. And it does involve issues that I think we're really afraid to really discuss openly. In taking this job, one of the things that I try to do is, this is not an issue about me. This is an issue about a good organization, the state police, and you know, how it's viewed by the public and what its responsibilities to the public are. So why did I take the job? Because you know, I believe in the state police. I got my start in law enforcement there, and I also accepted the fact that that there were issues. What I have a little bit of difficulty with is that you know, I guess I'm a centrist in the sense that I look at things from the middle, and the extremists on both sides have been allowed, I think, to have the day. And you know, again, going back to the seminar we went to, I was somewhat disappointed. It was actually an education for me that when you walk into an environment, and I came to address issues frankly and openly, and you know, I believed I was at somewhat of a disadvantage. However, I did survive.
Well, you handled yourself pretty well. And I know Sandy has a question, but let me ask you just one follow-up. In fact, Sandy has a number of questions. But to the extent that there's anger, or that there were people who are very sharply critical of you, some of them policemen, some of them citizens, some of them lawyers who've been involved in cases, some of that anger comes from a long history in which the officialdom of this state said there was no problem, when we now know everybody admits there was. So isn't that a part of the solution, that is reaching out to people who are angry and who are angry for good cause?
Well, you know, the issue of being angry and being angry for good cause is a difficult one to answer. One of the problems that I face as an administrator is there's often, I would like to give very detailed explanations of why something occurred or what's transpiring, but our own laws or rules or regulation or administrative policy prevents me from doing so. You know, there in the opening piece, I saw an attorney who has been very, very critical of the state police, and that individual also knows that I cannot defend the organization because of policy issues, things that are under litigation. It does become a somewhat of a one-sided fight, but yet, as I said there, you know, I think we've made a good beginning. I think that the issues that are here in New Jersey are issues that law enforcement confronts across the country. There are seminars now that are being hosted by the chiefs of police organizations. You know, Northwestern College is having a major seminar on profiling. The issue of profiling itself, I think, will be something that will be a major topic of conversation. But you are very astute in the fact that it goes beyond profiling, and it goes to the issue of race in this country, something that I think that we're pretty uncomfortable talking about in any depth. I mean, we have people scream at each other, but to actually discuss issues is another thing.
There are some people who say that the deck was stacked against you in more ways than the ones you've cited. You're walking into a job where there is an unprecedented, with your tenure, an unprecedented amount of monitoring and oversight by the Attorney General's office, by
but I welcome that.
By federal monitors. Does that not make the job even more difficult?
Absolutely not. I have found that probably one of the godsends was the establishment of the Director of State Police Affairs. I believe that absolute power corrupts. And one of the weaknesses, I think, in the Attorney General's office was that there was no established entity to monitor the state police. And, you know, Howard Safer left NYPD after 4.5 years. I really don't see myself staying here beyond that time.
4 or 5 years,
yeah,
you see as the limit that you want to serve.
I think that, for me, is the absolute most that I would want to do this.
Is that enough time to make a dent in the
Oh,
problem? Because
absolutely.
you said you were here to fix it.
Absolutely. I think that I can make a dent. First of all, I think we're on our way. There are some people that are holdouts. They will, I think, fight me tooth and nail. But first of all, I think change has occurred that is not reversible. You mentioned the monitors. I actually welcome them. Marty Cronin's office, I think, is a big plus for the state. It goes in. It's given me the opportunity to recuse the state police investigative arms and turn it over to Marty Cronin's office in some cases. There's a lot of initiatives that were in the Attorney General's report that day-to-day moving them forward is something that Marty Cronin's office is actually the impetus to moving them. I found myself totally consumed in trying to run a rather large bureaucracy, the largest police department in the state of New Jersey, and that in itself has been a very, very time-consuming task.
Colonel, you know, those people who've been particularly critical of you have been particularly critical of the fact that the hierarchy whom they blame for the profiling abuses of the past are still in place. In fact, 4 months after you took the job, a New York Times story said that civil rights advocates ask if Mr. Dunbar has the will or the political muscle to upset entrenched members of the state police hierarchy. Your critics say that is exactly what you failed to do, and that until you do that, the problem really is intractable.
Well, would you name people that are there?
Is that not so?
That's not so. I mean, first of all, you know, there's I think Rick Maurer wrote in the book of Walls of Resistance, you know, you can go in and you can decimate organizations. There are a lot of people in the state police that are hardworking, that do a good job, and they respond to instruction. They respond to guidance and direction they've gotten from leadership.
But you said earlier there were holdouts. I'm assuming you're identifying people who are entrenched and dug in attitude. What can you do about that without taking disciplinary action or removing people?
Well, well, you're asking two different questions. Okay. I mean, the first question was as far as the leadership and
why not come in and shake it all up? Is
well,
essentially what
first of all, you know, the way I operate. In fact, what I told my executive staff is that I operate on a trust level. I assume when I go in that we have a certain amount of trust, and basically if you violate that policy, you pay the price. You know, one of the things, I mean, the superintendent was gone when I got there. The deputy superintendent left. The executive officer, who was the The acting deputy superintendent for the first 6 months has retired. And in fact, that individual, although he was criticized, was extremely valuable in the sense that he allowed the organization to run while I got to know the ropes. When I took this job, one of the things that I refused to do was to condemn things without actually taking a look at them. And that's what I've been doing. And now I'm moving forward. If you look at our the way we're organized in the field as the troops, I believe 4 of the troop commanders I have now appointed. There's one more that will be retiring sometime next year, and then I will have appointed all 5 troop commanders.
So you're saying, in effect, the hierarchy of the state police is changing without your having to make...
It is changing.
Because I think, let me just give you a chance to follow up or to answer, because one of the criticisms made by local police and a couple of state police officers at the forum we talked about was you needed to shake up the hierarchy. So it wasn't just outside.
There were no local police officers there. It was mostly state police personnel that were there. You know, I think the most severe resistance actually comes from some of the line troopers who do not want to change or believe there's no need to change. That's not really, I think, the main complement of personnel.
How do you attack the problem of those line troopers who don't?
Well, you know, one of the things that I did is I just concluded in June meeting with every trooper in the state of New Jersey. I held a series of 26 to 27 sessions of anywhere from 3 to 4 hours in duration in groups of 100 at a time. And I basically spelled out, this is what we're going to do. I told each one of them, I said, I will not defend the undefendable.
Speaking of exactly that, Colonel, if I may just switch gears a little bit, when we talk about this problem of race and policing and how difficult it is to really take it on and how emotional and political these questions are, we saw earlier the picture of Governor Whitman in the frisking situation. I don't think there's anyone, however they came to that picture and whatever the feeling was, I don't think there's anyone who picked up the paper and saw that picture on the front page who didn't have some sort of a reaction. I wonder if you could share with us what your reaction was when you picked up the paper that day.
I wouldn't have done it. I don't think, you know, clearly I don't think she should have done it. One of the things that I find interesting about the media is that they will push the envelope. In fact, the media, if you look at cops and shows like it, I don't believe that the media has any place in being in an arrest situation. And that's a law enforcement function. And you know, I think it's very good to have some leaders, you know, non-law enforcement leaders, be interested in taking part or knowing about the job. But there are certain boundaries I don't think that you go beyond.
So when you say you wouldn't have done it, bad judgment on the governor's part, do you think?
Yes, I believe so.
Let me ask you a question that goes maybe to another heart of this, the war on drugs. Profiling became an accepted part of police work in 1985 as part of the war on drugs when it became race became an accepted criteria, among others, for making stops in Florida. And it spread, used by the DEA and other agencies. Many people have criticized the war on drug as a not very successful policy. Do you think that you can attack the problem of profiling without reevaluating our policy with respect to drugs?
Well, you know, as we talked at the seminar, you know, I spent my life in law enforcement, and I don't make policy. You know, I've stressed with our personnel that what we're going to do is we're going to do our job constitutionally and with compassion.
But you are on the line and have lots of practical experience. Even the governor, an ex-governor, Brendan Byrne, was here on one of our first programs this season saying he thought the war on drugs was a failure. Certainly there's discussion about whether the policies that are part of the war on drugs affects profiling and stops on the turnpike.
Well, I think if you take a look, you know, I went back and I looked at the year, I think 1990. In 1990, the state police made 10,000 drug arrests. It was an issue where drugs was a major issue that was presented by the administration, and I think the state police responded by making an unparalleled number of arrests. The following year, it became less of an issue, and the arrests dropped by 50%. You know, police officers,
I hate to cut you off. We're going to have to ask you to come back because this is a deep issue for us to discuss. It will be with us, and we want to ask you to come back and talk to us more because Sandy and I have enjoyed it, but we have so much more to ask you.
Okay.
That's it for this edition of Due Process. But we'll be back next week with another look at law and social justice. Until then, for Sandy King and all of us here at Due Process, I'm Raymond Brown.
I think when certain groups are singled out for this type of activity and behavior, yes, it is unfair.
Every time they see the color of your skin, you know, they pull you over, okay, boom, bang, we're going to hit you with a ticket.
It's probably something that's been going on for quite a while and the public has been unaware.
It's wrong, but it still happens a lot, even though they may say it doesn't.
They always act like they gotta meet a quota or something. If you're doing something wrong, you should get pulled over, not because you look suspicious or something like that.
There's a lot of research that needs to be done. A lot of the sides of the story need to be taken into account.
It is not fair. And the sooner they address it, the better it is.
Major funding for Due Process was made possible by the New Jersey State Bar Foundation, committed to educating the public about the law. Additional funding was provided by Lawyer's Diary and Manual,